Hi, students. Good news. Good news. I understand there was problems with the previous video, and so this is an update, and this is what I wanted to tell you. And really, I'm making this video for two distinct sections, the online folks as well as the hybrid folks of ISDS 2000, Business Statistics. And when I say the hybrid section, I'm talking about the one that meets at Maxine Smith on Wednesday night. And here's what you need to know. The Wednesday night hybrid class, the students said, we see a problem with the schedule. Well, I had to stop that conversation because we were already at this point 20 minutes into class. Some of you came in late, which means that you felt like you were only 10 minutes into class, but we were 20 minutes into an hour-and-a-half session. So I had to stop that discussion. But a wonderful student came up to me and said, I don't think you're quite understanding what we're saying. And as we looked at the schedule together, she said, see here where Wednesday, and just so you know, today is Monday the 13th, lucky 13, and she said, Wednesday the 15th, you're going to walk in here and you're going to teach us chapter 4 and give us learning project number 2 and tell us to get started, but you're also going to give us the test for exam number 1 and tell us that it starts Friday. She said this so nicely, and it was at that point I said, Eureka, aha, I understand. Okay, so I went back and looked at the schedule, and I said, I need to kind of redo the whole schedule, the whole 16-week semester. Of course, we're a couple weeks into it, but I want to convey to you immediately, and this was really my goal, that I am going to make some changes. And here's the change that you need to focus on right now. You will not have an exam this weekend, which is September the 17th, 18th, and 19th. We're not going to have it then. We're going to delay the exam until the following weekend. Now, you're looking at your schedule, right? And on that schedule, it says that you already had another exam scheduled that week. It would have been exam number 2. So you can see what I'm saying, which is I need to update all the schedules so that you feel comfortable. But you need to believe me. I've already announced this to another class, and they've asked me the same thing over and over, so let me just be real clear. Now, what does this mean about your pause quizzes, about your Connect assignments, about learning projects 1 and 2, and about your extra credit? What does that mean to those due dates? It means that they will also be delayed by 1 week. Now, I routinely give students, this is nothing new, a piece of paper that says, what do you need to know about due dates and exam number 1. And I am going to post that. And I will do that today. Today's Monday, and I'll email you when I do. And what it's going to say is the same thing that I'm saying to you right now in this video, which is your assignment due dates are always due the night before the exam. So if your exam, I'm looking at my calendar over here, so that's why I keep looking away. If your exam is going to begin Friday the 24th, then you know your assignments are all due by Thursday the 23rd, 11:55, double nickels, 55 p.m. That is exactly 1 week, because they would have been due the 16th. But instead, 1 week later is the 23rd, and they'll all be due then. So that gives you a little extra time to practice. Now, what you're saying is, what does that mean to our schedule for Chapter 5? Well, let's not take a deep breath by any stretch of the imagination, because, remember, for the hybrid class, I will be lecturing on Chapter 5 when it says. It's just a matter of when do we take the test. That's the only thing that's really being changed here, when we take the test. And, of course, your assignments are always due the night before the test, okay? The other thing I wanted to convey to all the groups here, the hybrids as well as the online, is you're doing a great job, and keep up that good work. It is very normal at this point in the semester for you to become a little frustrated, and that's because we're no longer in a class where you're repeating definitions or doing discussion. Instead, what you have to do is listen to a definition and then apply a process. Now, are you left to your own devices? No. Where do you get the steps for the process? From a formula. The formula says, what's the first thing you do? whatever's in between parentheses. What's the second thing you do? Well, probably, if we're talking about standard deviation, calculate x bar. What's the third thing you do? You take x bar and you subtract it from each and every value, right? So there is a process. Now, are we applying that process to data values that are related to the rent of apartment complexes, like I'm doing in the video lectures? Or are we applying that process to incomes or commission rates of salespeople? Well, the process is always the same. Now, right now, you have a process to apply based on a question. So the question may be, calculate the standard deviation, and there will be one process. Later on, that will not be the case. Later on, the process might be that we want you to calculate the standard deviation, but you have to decide, do I use this formula or that formula? Well, it will depend on your diagnosis of the situation. For example, if you go to the hospital complaining about chest pains, the first thing that the doctor needs to do is say, this might be a heart attack. If the doctor instead treats you for a flesh wound on your leg, you would say this is the wrong process given this situation. Right now, the situations are very similar. If we calculate the average, the process is always the same. To calculate the median, we use a process. Now, maybe a little difference there. There's kind of a process we use if it is an odd number of data points versus an even number. It can change a little bit, right? Okay, look to the formula and apply the process. Now, I don't do the homework for you, and a couple of you have emailed me about that, and again, I will tell you that is extremely normal. However, the examples I do are following the exact same process that you will do. In other words, if I was going to tell you how to drive a stick shift, maybe some of you know how to drive a stick shift. Maybe some of you don't. I could tell you about it and tell you about it and tell you how to do it, but until you do it in your car, it's not going to make sense for you. You have to do it. And is it frustrating? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you can do it. You just can't do it all in 30 minutes and then walk away. It takes how much time? Every day. A little bit of time every day. Now, when I say a little bit, for some of you, this is still familiar terrain and you feel comfortable with it. It takes you a couple minutes. For others of you, it is harder. It may take you an hour, maybe an hour and a half. If it's purposeful time, that's good. Don't forget that I make resources available to you. First of all, I invite you to email me with questions. They need to be kind of specific. If you just tell me I don't understand, you give me nothing to work with. You have to ask me, I'm not going to say on the third Wednesday when there's a full moon. You don't have to be that specific, but you do have to engage in a meaningful question. Okay? Email me through the pause system. That's first resource. You have, and maybe not first because you have examples in the video lectures. You say, but Dr. Joan, I hate your video lectures. You're just wrong. You know, it's not the first semester. I've heard that, okay? But I will tell you this, it's not true. What you can also do, look at the examples in your book. Now think about this. If you still say, yes, you are wrong, Dr. Joan, think about this. They work examples in your book to show you that process. They assign problems. They created the homework problems that you're working. Just because they're